Despite coming out of relatively nowhere, Josh Jobe continues to show that he might be part of the future for the Seattle Seahawks. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. And obviously, this is going to be a little bit of a different week because we don't have a game imminently pressing against our minds. We're not playing anything this weekend, so there's going to be a little bit less to get into, but we can continue to do cleanup from last week's game, the Rams game, and we can do our pass coverage Thursday segment here. So obviously, big picture, the defense can't be thrilled with the way they defended the pass, but it wasn't that bad either. We forced a turnover. Even though we didn't get sacks, we did get quarterback pressure, and Stafford needed overtime to get up to the almost 300-yard total that he got to. And without that overtime, I think it would have been more like, what, 250, not even? So I don't think the coverage was that bad. There was one player in particular who it was very bad for, and who that person is should be pretty obvious. And there were also some issues in a couple other spots, but overall, workable, manageable, feasible. Let's go ahead and break it down by position. Quick reminder before we get into this, though, there will be no show with the Hawks Nest this week because we have a bye week. So we're going to take the week off and come back next week for the preview of the Niners game. But we'll be taking this week off. Second of all, please like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. And become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. All right, so linebackers, Baker's not here anymore. Dodson, on the other hand, is here. And he, maybe because Baker's gone now, he just looks like a little bit more of a coverage liability. He got targeted 6 times in this game, 6 completions allowed, and, I mean, almost 70 yards. So that is something that, if it's sustained over a long enough period of time, is going to be devastating. And you can see it's still mostly yak, right? We're talking about screen passes and dump-offs and checkdowns that end up going for big plays, but I mean, however they get the yards, it's not good, right? I don't know how much of this can really be put on Dodson specifically, but there's plenty of blame to go around. His QB rating allowed is up to 96, which is really getting away from him after starting the season out pretty decently. And maybe with Baker not out there to pick on, teams are showing that they can pick on Dodson, which would be maybe okay if he was doing better on early downs. Right? I mean, we're talking about Tyrell Dodson as a run defender. It's very, very spotty. So it's not like he's doing okay on early downs to make up for the fact that he's not doing great in coverage anymore. He's just not a very good player, and I'm disappointed. Baker doesn't surprise me that much. Him not working out doesn't surprise me because of all the injuries, but I thought for sure Dodson had more in the tank than this. All right, Ernest Jones, on the other hand, actually was fine in this game. He got targeted 4 times. I think it was just the 2 completions. It was about 20 yards. I can live with that all day. I got no problem with that. And I think you saw that Ernest Jones is a good player and that he will hopefully be part of the Seahawks for the foreseeable future after that trade. But he's clearly good. He looked much better in this game, and I think if you give him more time to settle in, you'll continue to see good things. The coverage grade is still not very good because of leftover stuff from the Bills game, but again, he had just gotten into the building at that point. Nothing else for any of the linebackers, nothing new for any of the edge rushers, so we're done with the mid-level of the defense. Let's get to the secondary, the cornerbacks. Witherspoon had a better game, 5 targets, and he allowed 3 completions. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a great game because we're still up close to 50 yards here. You want a little bit better from your future superstar corner or current, whatever you want to call Witherspoon at this point. I think everybody's going to have their own opinion on that, but it was better. He didn't do anything particularly out of pocket in this game compared to like that Bills game where he couldn't tackle at all. So that was better. But overall, we're still looking at a little bit of a sophomore slump, and I've been telling people sophomore slumps are a thing that happen to a lot of players. So no, we are not cursed with the one player in NFL history that took a non-trivial step back in their second year. This is a fairly common occurrence, and it's going to be on him to work through it, and I believe that he will. But for now, what we have is a relatively average cornerback in coverage right now, overall, you would say, that is also not providing over-the-top play as a run defender or tackler, but he's still not bad. He just needs to work through this stuff where he just looks kind of bleh, you know? Speaking of bleh, Riq Woolen finally had the big stinker of a game. He got targeted 8 times, 5 completions, which isn't terrible, but when you're giving up those 5 completions for 75 yards, or over 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, even the interception doesn't wipe that away, right? And this is now 2 games in a row where Woolen has given up 2 touchdowns, so he's up to 4 after starting the season out so brilliantly. And his QB rating is up to 71, 72. So the numbers overall in the season still look very good. I mean, 133 yards in the limited amount of, I'm sorry, not limited, but the rather most of the season playing time he's gotten so far this year. He only missed a couple of games. That's really, really good still. But if the trend from these last 2 games continues by the end of the year, there is not going to be a single Seahawks fan out there that wants to keep this guy in 2025. And this is coming in tandem with poor tackling and poor run defense. Woolen cannot afford to be getting beat in coverage like this. And I understand that he was very close to preventing that second touchdown, the overtime touchdown. I know that he didn't really do anything that egregiously wrong, but Woolen's margin for error in coverage is very thin because he's so bad in the other elements of this game. He cannot tackle, and he's bad in run defense. So you got to be locked down on that end, or else why are you on the field? But you can see that overall, he can recover from this. He can bounce back from this, right? We're going to give him an opportunity to. Trey Brown didn't play. Pritchett didn't play. Williams doesn't play corner. Artie Burns, nothing. Josh Jobe, that's probably one of the brighter spots to talk about this week, I would say. 6 targets. I think it was only 3 completions. And those 3 completions, I mean, it netted the Rams about 40 yards. So it's not amazing, but 6 targets, 40 yards for a guy who I didn't even know existed before this season. I mean, we're getting way more than we thought we would out of Jobe. And the fact that we now kind of seem to think that he's better than Trey Brown, and I don't know if I agree with that, but somebody who really understands football in this organization seems to think that it's negligible at least, unless Trey Brown's still nursing some secret injury they won't tell anybody about. And the numbers, they kind of back it up. 45% completion against on 20 targets. Not a tiny sample size. Not a big one, but not a tiny one. 50.8 QB rating when targeted. When he gets beat pretty badly, it seems like, and he's given up some big things. But overall, we got to monitor this for the rest of the year and see how we feel about Jobe at the conclusion of it. And with Trey Brown almost certainly gone this offseason, you do have to wonder if maybe Jobe can be part of the cornerback room in 2025 and beyond at this point, because he is playing very well. And, it's one less thing we would have to worry about in an offseason where I think almost every Seahawks fan is going to want them to be focusing all their efforts into the offensive line. All right, so safety's got some more relatively good news here. Julian Love had a really effective game in coverage. He got targeted a lot, 8 times, only allowed 4 completions, and 23 yards. Julian Love is a guy who, throughout his Seahawks career so far, has been dinged heavily by PFR on coverage numbers. So that is a very, very good game for him. Julian Love is a guy who's given up over 100 yards in coverage at least once, maybe more, in his Seahawks career. And last year, I think he was the safety who was credited for the most allowed receiving yards in the league. So seeing games like that is very encouraging. Didn't allow any touchdowns in this game, of course. You can see that most of the yards that he allowed were through the air as well. So tackling fairly well, tackling very effectively, not allowing a lot of stuff after the catch. Still not having a great season, but that game I do think is a step in the right direction. Rayshon's out. Kayvon Wallace didn't get targeted. Kobe Bryant, that's another thing you're pretty excited about as a Seahawks fan right now, I think. 5 targets. What are we talking about? 2 completions. And what are we? 24 yards. Right? 24 yards on 5 targets. I'll take that happily. I'm happy with that. QB rating against is 73. So something's clicking there. Something's right. Something's working there. And Kobe Bryant, there are some things he can do that are very, very cool. And I was just hoping he could find a way to effectively do other things on a football field so he could earn playing time. That may be happening right now. I don't want to say anything definitive yet, but Rayshon's probably a goner this offseason. And maybe Kobe's going to be your answer alongside Julian Love in 2025. It's at least a possibility now that we should be open to. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Another video coming in a little bit. Again, there might only be like 3 videos today because there's less to talk about, but I will be back. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Thursday Night Football tonight. Everybody have fun. Enjoy it. No Seahawks this week. Maybe you'll enjoy that too. And yeah, see you guys in a little bit.